start the day. So I've got a great training, and you know, I was thinking a lot about what I was going to talk about, and I think heading into the holidays, being around so much family and friends and just situations, a lot of times it might pull up emotions when you're around family. I know that sometimes I revert back to a child when I'm with my mom. You know, we just can't help it. And so this is a really good time to really kind of be reflective, be really meditative, and just really focus in on obviously enjoying the season, but sharpening up your skills, you know, listening to conversations and so on. So I've got this training I'm going to share with you guys, and let me pull it up. Can everybody see? Thumbs up? Yay, I'm getting better at this. Okay, so let me go to slideshow from the beginning. Slideshow from the beginning. All right. So I'm going to do a training out of, again, if you guys haven't got this book yet, Millionaire Success Habits by Dean Graziosi. I can't pronounce that. The Villain Within. Well, it's called The Millionaire Success Habits. I'm going to do a chapter from that book, The Villain Within. And again, Jeff and I, if you see our library, I mean, we love really good books, and some of them we keep going back to because they just are so relevant to what we do. And this is one of them. You know, I actually read this on the way to Vegas when we were going there for the international conference, and just loved it. So I decided to kind of pull out another chapter from this book and really talk to it as it pertains to our business. And I love it because I think a lot of the difference between a successful person and someone that maybe never hits that next level of success or breaks through to where they want to go, it's not anything other than from what's inside of us. This chapter was great because it's called The Villain Within, and we all have one. We all have this villain within. Jeff likes to call it his other voice, because it talks to us. It's our subconscious, and it's a very, very strong force. You know, I think that the Millionaire Success Habits, one of the things I like about it is it's talking about just simple things that we need to do over and over and over again in order to sharpen our skills. You know, something doesn't become a habit. I think I heard Jeff say this yesterday, until you do it over 21 times. And you got to keep practicing and sharpening those skills and sharpening those skills. It's no surprise why someone goes to the top of whatever they do, no matter what it is they do, because they have these skills in place. They understand the success habits that they've created. And so one of them is really about conquering that other voice, the villain that's within us. And you know, first of all, this is some of the things that this voice might be saying to you. You can't do this. You know, what makes you think you deserve this? You know, there's these little voices, and even they creep up on us when we're talking to people. They creep up on us when we're prospecting, when we're doing something new, maybe trying LinkedIn, whatever it is that we do. They're always there. It's kind of living within us. And what we need to do is identify these things. So one of the things that they talked about in this book is there's like a good wolf inside of us, and there's a bad wolf. And this was actually a story told by I guess an Indian woman, a Navajo woman. She was talking about this good wolf and this bad wolf. The bad wolf that's inside of us is negativity, it's jealousy, it's envy, it's the glass is always half empty, that won't work, what makes you think you deserve this. It's all the things that we start to say to ourselves that are negative. Okay, so we're going to call that the bad wolf. The good wolf is when you're really on top of your game and you're like, I can do this, I'm so excited, you know, I love myself, today's going to be a great day, the glass is full, not half empty. It's all the positiveness. It's everything that's good. Okay, so there's two things working inside of you every single minute. And anyway, the woman says to her grandson, she's telling her grandson this story. He says, well, which one wins the battle? And she says, the one that you feed. I mean, it's pretty simple. It's the one you listen to. It's the one that you feed. And so we have to be aware of that. And it's not like you're ever going to conquer the bad wolf. There's always going to be within us this bad wolf and this good wolf. And it's who you listen to. Okay, it's really that simple. Another way of looking at it is the villain is like a parasite. Okay, the parasite. You know, we went to Thailand. Jesse was just visiting us the other day, and Jeff and I and Jenna got back. We were fine, but she got so sick. And I think, you know, maybe she obviously she caught something over there, and she ended up in the emergency room. And, you know, you think about it, it's like this parasite or this toxicity that she got and she had to get out of her, right? Well, in the same token, when you have this good wolf and you have this bad wolf, think of it also like a parasite within inside of you. A parasite is toxicity. It's living in you. You know, it's something that if you feed it, okay, it keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and it drains you of your energy. It drains you of your excitement, your joy, your motivation, okay? So what we need to do is, I call it a cognitive cleanse, okay? What we're going to be talking about here today is things that we can do to really cleanse our brain and our subconscious so that we are the best that we possibly can be, okay? First thing, okay, just some of the things that I think, you know, externally are feeding us every day. What about the news? Okay, if you guys think about what's going on out there today, have you ever just turned the TV on and you're watching the news, you're listening to the news, you're reading the news, you turn on your computer and the news comes on, you turn on your cell phones and your iTablets, I mean, social media. More than ever, we're surrounded by all of this, let's call it toxicity. Because do you guys think that news is good, or you think news is bad news? Good news or bad news? What sells? We know bad news sells. You know, some editor, I guess, in some magazine says, if it bleeds, it leads. If it bleeds, it's the leading story. You ever wonder why when we're in traffic, it starts to slow down and Jeff gets so aggravated, it kind of juggernauts, and then all of a sudden you get past this little spot where there was maybe someone on the side of the road, and then it clears up again because everybody kind of slows down. They want to see what's going on. They want to see the accident. You know, they're called rubberneckers. So that right there is a very, very strong force, you guys. It's working against us every single day. Now, this is the kind of things I want you guys to think about when you're thinking about the villain within us. If we're going to do this cognitive cleanse, and we know the news is mostly negative, right? I mean, no one's going to argue with me on this call that the news is positive. If we know the news is mostly negative, why are we feeding into that? Why are we letting that into our subconscious? Right? Why are we doing it? So my challenge to everybody, maybe over the next 2 weeks, over the holiday season, or do what you can to limit it. Some people, they just can't even get away from the TV. It's always got to be on. Go on a 30-day or a 2-week news diet. Now, I'm gonna challenge everybody to do that, because think about, first of all, how much time you guys spend in front of the TV. Even watching silly shows. I mean, I know that we like to go to sleep to Dancing with the Stars or some of our reality shows because it's kind of like our unwind down time. But what are you doing when you're, 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock at night? Are you in front of the TV? You know, think about what you could be doing and what you could be accomplishing just with the time that you're not spending watching the TV or listening to it or reading the news. Think about that time. What could you be doing? You could be working out. You could be meditating. You could be reading good books. You could be working on your plan. You could be prospecting. I mean, just prospecting alone over social media with what Melanie's been teaching us over LinkedIn, just that time spent redirecting that time, what would that mean to you? What would that mean to you? Maybe it's about spending more time with your family over the holidays. You're going to say to the whole family, we're turning that damn TV off and we're going to spend some really good quality time together, you know, playing games, right? I know that sometimes when we have spotty internet where we live, it's almost like the world comes to an end. Oh my gosh, we've become so dependent on the internet and just all these outside sources that it runs our lives. So first of all, identify that. Identify how much toxicity you're letting in your life from outside sources. And don't kid yourself. People think, oh, it's not affecting me. It is. It is. Have you ever watched a scary movie, you've gone to bed, and then you've dreamt about it? Or some of what you watch seeps into your dreams in different ways. It's like you're programming yourself. Okay, so enough about that. Who's up for that challenge, okay, over the next 2 weeks? Or if you want to really go for it, the next 30 days. And then you'll find out, okay, when, let's say after this 30-day news diet, this cognitive cleanse, you'll determine what you want to let back in. Maybe you just want to let back in one news show that you really like, you know, per day, and limit it, okay? And make sure it's positive. Okay, what's another thing that happens? Well, you've got this villain within you. You've got the bad wolf, you've got the good wolf, and we're talking about really feeding the good wolf, right? Really kind of doing these cognitive cleanses and getting rid of these parasites. A lot of people think working on your weaknesses is going to make you better at what you do. It's actually the opposite. You should be working on your strengths, not your weaknesses. Not your weaknesses. First of all, the inner villain thrives when you focus your time on things you're not good at. Think about it. Everybody here on this call, think about the things that you totally hate to do. It could be bookkeeping. It could be cleaning, organizing. Some people are really good at that stuff. Some people aren't. But when you focus things that you're not good at, what normally happens? You get frustrated. You don't want to do it. It robs you of your confidence. Okay? And I think that we've been programmed as kids from a very young age to think about the weaknesses. And if I'm not good at math, I've got to study my math. If I'm not good at, calculus, I've got to spend all my time on calculus or reading. If these are things you're not good at, and you start to focus on them, it makes you feel inadequate. Okay, this is where you're not good enough, you're not smart enough, you're not talented enough, because you're focusing on things that you're not innately good at. Okay, and this is just the facts. But everybody has things that they're good at, and if they start working on their strengths, it'll help you overcome anything that you consider a weakness. So what do I mean by that? You know, if I'm focusing on things that I'm good at, which I love to be with people, I love networking groups, I love talking with people, I love going into a room where I don't know anybody. These are things I love to do, okay? This is time well spent. And if I'm focusing on things that I'm not good at, let's say bookkeeping, and I'm going to try to get really good at organizing, financing and things like that. What I'm doing is I'm switching my gears to things that frustrate me, that don't feed my confidence. They beat me. It beats down my confidence. You know, if you think about that parasite or that bad wolf, they love that. Because what you're saying to yourself is, I'm not good at this. I need to get better, okay? And that's what's zapping your energy. So focus on your strengths, you guys. You know, focus on things that you're good at. Everyone is good at something. Everyone is good at something. Every single person on this call has something that They shine, that their heart shines when they're doing it. They smile, they come alive. Get amazing at what you're good at. Okay, take time today to make a list at what you do well. Start making that list right now. Write down all the things that you love to do. If you put your energy into things that you stink at, you'll lose your confidence, okay? You can for someone else do the things you are not good at. Oh, you can pay. See, I just did this PowerPoint last night. You can pay someone else to do the things you are not good at. You know, when we went to see Eric Worre, and I was listening to speaker after speaker after speaker, and we talked about this a lot. They were really talking about, you know, being focused in on your vision, being focused in on what you want your life to look at like. It was very, very concise. These people that succeed and go to the top of everything that they do, they focus in on vision. They focus in on what they're good at. They focus in on their strengths. Anything that takes you away from what you are good at, pay someone else to do, or have your kids do it. In other words, think about house cleaning. If your goal right now is to make, let's just use the number, and I'm going to talk about Jeff and I. I'm going to put it out there. We've got some very, very lofty goals in 2018 with our team, all of you part of those goals. If our goal, let's say, is to make $1 million, all right, and we break that down on a monthly basis, and then we break that down on a weekly basis in earnings, and then we break that down on a daily basis, and then an hourly basis. If I'm cleaning the house for 1 hour, right, and that pay is, let's say $1,000 an hour, $1,000 an hour. Would my time be spent working on what I'm good at, which is prospecting, developing people, building up my funnel, working with new people coming into the business? Would that hour be spent better there, or would it be spent better cleaning the house? That housekeeper that cleaning the house for 1 hour was $1,000. Let's just use that number. That's what I paid myself to clean the house. So I want you guys to think about that. Anything that you do you realize Eric Worre said this? He doesn't even own a screwdriver. He pays everybody for every single thing to do, everything outside of what his main focus is. And you better believe it that Tony Robbins does that. All the great leaders, all the people that are succeeding in life, is they focus in on what they're good at and they continue to improve upon it. Anything outside of that right now, and maybe someone's saying, I can't afford to have someone clean the house. Then figure out who can do it for you. I'm like, Jenna, get over here, right? All right. Okay. What about the cost of bad advice? That definitely feeds that inner villain. Take the time to filter all the advice that comes your way. Okay. Now it could be from your husband, family and friends. It could be from, how about this one? Crossline. Somebody in World Global Network has no vested interest in what you're wanting to accomplish, and you're going to them for your advice about this business. Okay? Think about just that in itself, what it could potentially cost you. Just a little bit of bad advice. You're talking about at the end of 2018, instead of hitting your goal straight on, it's kind of like that airplane. If you're off just a little bit, boom. Instead of going to Canada, you end up over there in New York. Okay? It's these little things that keep you on pace. So take time right now, and everything, you guys, that we teach, you know, especially, I mean, when we talk about motivation and personal development, they're all the basic principles that we spin in all the different trainings. But the 5-5-7 system that comes from Chanita and Nat is the only system we teach, right? That's it. The 2-minute, the 7-minute, the 30-minute. system is the only thing we teach. Everything that we teach on Saturday morning that the company teaches, the Get Started training, is what everybody should be doing. Following our Get Started letter, okay? Knowing all the different trainings that are online, knowing this system, and working with your plugged in upline, okay? For accountability. That's all people need to be focused in on. One voice, okay? So the cost of bad advice, what that does is it confuses. A confused mind does what? It does nothing. Because now you're hearing something over here, you're hearing something over here, you're reading something on a Facebook chat line, on one of the private Facebook groups or one of the WhatsApp chats. And all this stuff confuses people. You guys, this business is so simple. And what happens is you start to get derailed because you're listening to what people are saying versus doing the business. You're starting to question yourself, your confidence ways, right? So this is really important, you guys. When you're around family this holiday season, sometimes they might be saying, what are you doing? How's that thing going? Right? Why don't you get a real job? There's a lot of people that have well intentions, but what they're doing is they're getting back in your subconscious and they're making you question the decision you made. So start creating new habits of ignoring bad advice and getting good advice from qualified people, right? Your plugged in upline. That's why it's so important, you guys. Diamond Zone is amazing because what it is, it's kind of like it's a break mentally to get refocused every single morning. The Update Monday call, the training on the Update Monday call at 10 a.m., a break to get mentally focused. If you're working, every single thing is recorded, every single thing is archived. It really is. What about doing what they do? Doing what, we were told to do is go to school, to go to college, to get a good job. That's what the masses are all doing. But we all know the statistics, right? People are marching off to the tune of in some sort of poverty because is their money going to really last them through their retirement? So we're right now a force, you guys. World Global Network, just in general, network marketing is going against the grain. And you know what happens a lot of times is it makes people uncomfortable. It really does. I mean, watch the conversations over the holidays with family and friends. I guarantee you the people that are uncomfortable with what you're doing will not even bring it up. They won't even ask you about it because they're uncomfortable with you going against the grain and you trying to do something different and you're trying to better yourself. And they might think, he's doing one of those things. And so it makes people uncomfortable because it really puts the spotlight back on them. You're not following the crowd. You're going against the grain. So these are all the things right now, that I'm talking about, especially going into the holidays, where you could go into the holidays prepared mentally, knowing what you're going to hear, knowing what you're going to face when you're dealing with different family members and you've come upon this new opportunity and they're kind of snickering behind your back. There's things that you're going to have to deal with. There's people that are going to embrace you and there's people that aren't going to embrace you. But are you going to listen to them? Okay? Are you going to let that seek into your subconscious, right? And let that feed that inner villain. So now you're driving home from that holiday party and you're thinking to yourself, you can't do this. What were you thinking? Why didn't you bring up, the business with that person? Why didn't you tell them what you were doing? Because all these things feed that inner villain. So you got to be aware of it, you guys. And of course, obviously, doing what they do, stop following the crowd. That's we're all on that path together. We're all going the opposite direction because we want more for ourselves. So what I want everybody to do, these are some of the exercises. I want you to make a list. I want you to write down in the middle of the list, all the things on the left hand are things that I am no longer willing to accept in my life. Do this before you go to any of the events. things that you're not going to accept in your life. What does that look like? And then on the other side, things that are now musts in my life. What is something that needs to happen? And I want you guys to make this list and just go from your heart. Let it flow out, things that you're not going to accept and things that you want to accept into your life. And then after you make that list, on both sides, I want you to circle the top 3 things. And it's going to be really interesting to see how they parallel. And then you just start to just objectively, you're feeding, remember the good wolf is on the right side. You start to feed that good wolf. Obviously, you're talking to your subconscious about all the things that you must have into your life. You're listening to that, the good wolf, not the bad one. All right? All right. So some of the things, this helps when you are, working on that inner person, the inner villain, and you want to cleanse, do that cognitive cleanse, an outer reflection of the inner you. How are you presenting yourself to the world? Okay. If you start to really watch people at parties, watch people and listen to the conversations. A great place to do this if you're at an airport, you're flying to see family. Watch people walking past you, okay? And listen to conversations if you're, in line and you're, or you're at the restaurant getting food and everybody's waiting for their flight. I want you guys to be very aware of this. What is the body language? Are their shoulders straight or are they hunched? Are their eyes wide open or are they kind of like this? Kind of like just, not even vacant. I call them vacant eyes. Are they intently listening and laughing with their family members? Or are they all on their cell phones just doing this? Are they smiling? Or do they have just kind of like a frown on their face? Or just this, kind of like, it's just another day. Is their head held high? They walk with confidence or just kind of drooping head? Do they have energy, enthusiasm? Watch people. You're drawn to energy, right? You're drawn to people with enthusiasm. They have a positive presence. So these are the kind of things where, which person are you? Okay, which person are you with this outer reflection of into the world? Because the way you represent yourself to the world internally is the way you represent yourself. You represent yourself to yourself. So here you are. You're going into these holiday events. And, we were talking about this on the Monday update call. You want to get people's attention. And Jeff was talking about this week. That's why we're going over it again. These are millionaire success habits that successful people just innately do every single day. They've practiced these habits. So it might not be something that normally happens where you're walking straight, your eyes are wide, you're attentively listening. But when you practice all of these things, you get better, you get better, you get better. And then all of a sudden it just becomes a habit. You're not thinking about smiling. You're not thinking about putting your shoulders back and your eyes wide and intently listening. You want to get people's attention over the holidays? Do these things. Walk into the next family event doing all of these things, working on them, being conscious of them, listening to the conversations. Everybody's going to notice this about you. They're going to notice just, wow, Joe looks happy. Joe's doing well. These are the things that people are drawn to. They might not bring up your business, but guess what? When you follow up with them you know, with the 2-minute video, or maybe someone says, what are you up to? And you say, you know what, after the holidays, what's your schedule look like? You know, you know, let's set a time to have coffee, or I'm going to give you a call. They're going to want to hear from you because they see something different about you. They see all of these things. They're gravitating towards this because you got to remember, people are going into the holidays usually stressed. And what are they stressed about? They're stressed about money. They're stressed about the last year. They're nervous about next year. They don't know what they're going to do to change their financial situation. They walk in, their shoulders are drooped. They're kind of like this. They're tired. They just maybe drove long to get there. They're not listening. They're just talking. Listen to people that just talk about themselves. They're talking nervously because they're unhappy. They're not smiling. All the things that we don't train. And then here you come. See, these are the things that attract people to you. So how are you presenting yourself to the world? Choose your words. Okay? This is the other thing. Words can either feed that inner villain or they can starve it. Okay, remember we're talking about that inner villain because we're doing that cognitive cleanse. Without knowing it, we attach certain emotions to certain words. It does. As a result, our confidence goes down. Okay, think about a word, or think about sometimes when you have a conversation with your husband, or your parents are talking to you, or you're talking to your kids. These words, we attach emotions to them. We do. You know, laziness, procrastination, you're sloppy, you're messy, Miss Mess. Think about these words we say to our kids, okay? And what happens is we start to own them. We own these words. They're just words, you guys. You know, we look back a month or 5 years or 10 years or 20 years, we are holding on to these words. Remember the parasites, remember the bad wolf, the good wolf. We're holding on to these words and we're letting them eat away at our confidence. Do you know you can disempower the words that cause negative emotion? What are your trigger words? Stressed, overwhelmed. What happens when you see somebody and you say, hey, how's it going? I always say fantastic. That's my favorite word. Fantastic. Because it's fantastic. Life is fantastic. And for me, that immediately, that word does something to my endorphins and it gets me in a really good place. But what if you say, oh man, I'm stressed out. The holiday bustle and hustle. I've got to do this. I've got to do this. I'm stressed. What immediately happens? Your body becomes stressed. I'm overwhelmed. I'm overwhelmed. Then you become overwhelmed. I remember a good friend of mine. She actually had in her email, really busy mom. And guess what? She was a really busy, overwhelmed mom. Always busy. She basically put into her unconscious that she was always going to be busy and overwhelmed and stressed. Okay? So choose your words. Remember, what are you feeding yourself? Good words or bad words?
How about I'm tired? How about I'm tired, honey? I'm tired. Everybody says I'm tired.
I'm tired. I'm feeling a little sick today. My daughters hate this. Jeff always says, you're only sick if you tell yourself you're sick. But it's true. And I'll say to, you know, even if Jeff is sick, he says, I'm not sick. I feel great. Because these words, they affect you. They affect all your emotions. Okay. And then you know what, you guys, these are things in 2018, we're talking about success principles, millionaire success principles. Who are you hanging around? Who's in your inner circle? Now we know at these family gatherings, you can't change your family gatherings. You can't wave a magic wand and take Uncle Bill out of the event. He's there. But remember, you're protecting yourself. You've got a coat of armor around you because you're positive, right? You feed yourself positive words. You listen to what you're saying, right? You're going on your 30-day news diet. You're not going to listen to the news and all this negative stuff. You're going to listen to great music, maybe some great meditation tapes. Go get some great, or download some great personal development tapes. That's what you should be listening to when you're in the car. But who's in your inner circle, you guys? Let's take the family out of it. You're building your business. It's 2018. Are you around battery chargers or battery drainers? Which one are you? Which one are you, first of all? Right? When I call somebody up, I want to fill up their cup. I don't want to empty it. I want to have solutions, not the problems, right? Battery drainers, which one are you, first of all? You got to identify that right now. And then what I want you to do is I want you to become very conscious of how you feel when you're around people. If you feel drained after you leave a person, they're a battery drainer. If you feel excited when you leave somebody and you're like, wow, that felt so good, they're a battery charger. Gravitate towards battery chargers. It's that simple. And you got to start getting rid of the toxicity in your life little by little. Now, I'm not saying to go get a divorce if that's your husband, or I'm not saying, you gotta, your family's your family, but you gotta, I don't know how to say this, but you've got to protect yourself. Be the beacon. And guess what? Maybe those battery changers will become less draining when they're around you because you're overwhelming them with your happiness, right? You got to go over the top with the battery drainers. One time I was called a Pollyanna. It was by Jeff's mom. We share a lot on Diamond Zone. Everybody hears about Jeff's mom. She called me a Pollyanna. I would much rather be a Pollyanna any day than a Debbie Downer, right? A negative Nancy. So I took that as a compliment. You know, another time.
You can't talk about my mom. Only I can talk about my mom, not you.
I think everybody's laughing. One time, this was back in my 20s. I remember one of our good friends, Jeff and I, she was actually a supervisor of mine in the health clubs. She said I smiled too much. Wow.
She said you were retarded because you smiled too much. She said I
looked retarded because I smiled too much. You know what? I just innately, I think maybe back then even, repelled that kind of stuff because it felt so good for me to smile. It's just my personality. I wasn't going to change who I was for anybody, and nor should you. So everybody take on these things, okay? This is how you do this cognitive cleanse and you get rid of that bad wolf, or at least you put him in a cage and you recognize when he's trying to bang on the cage and get out. You take medicine to get rid of that parasite because he's draining your energy. He's getting bigger and bigger inside of you. And you can't even get up in the morning because he's draining you. No, you took some medicine, you took some antibiotics, and you got rid of the parasite. These are the things that we're talking about, you guys. So how do you get around good people? Some people on this call are probably saying, well, Lisa, all the people that I hang out with are broken negative. Guess what? You need some new friends. Expand your circle and include successful people. That's why being on Diamond Zone is great. That's why being on the update call on Monday, phenomenal. That's why being on, even if you need to jump on these live Zoom meetings at 6 o'clock, with or without a guest, it's good stuff. It's like listening. It's reconfirmation. You might need that right now to listen to the information, right? I heard Mike Sims. This is a presidential millionaire. He was on every opportunity call there ever was given. by his plugged-in upline because he wanted to listen to the information over and over and over and over again. He wanted to be that information. So just remember, that's kind of the things you do. Look at your welcome letter. It's on Hilo Life. And if you need the updated welcome letter, make sure you're on our private Facebook group. It's pinned to the top. Go over it. Go over that welcome letter. Make sure you have all the information in front of you. You know where all the links are, and get plugged into as much as you can. But what can you do outside of that? Go to meetup.com. If you like to hike, go hiking and meet some new people. And remember, you're listening and walking around the battery chargers. If you're starting to hike and you're next to one of the battery drainers, just kind of slow your pace down or speed up and move away, okay, from people that drain your battery. I love going to mastermind classes. Go to things like Eric Worre, Tony Robbins. This is where you meet successful people. Go to where successful people are likely to be. Okay? If you go to a calendar in your local town, there's all sorts of activities. Make it part of your business plan in 2018 to get out from behind the computer and do 2 to 3 things to meet new people every single week. Every single week. That's it. These are simple things, you guys. So that's it for me. Jeff, you want to add anything, lovey?
No, my sweet love button. That was awesome, baby. That was awesome. You know, the one thing I do want to say is, you know, you had mentioned something. If you're not getting the results and you talk to this negative relative, the voice gets louder. When you're not getting the results and you have a conversation with somebody else, the voice gets louder because, right, you start to buy in. If you were getting results, you would never listen to the voice. Well, think about this. Most people aren't getting the results. And so this is where you have to really believe and understand your long-term goals. You're already there. Otherwise, this is where a lot of people, they get stopped in their tracks because they're saying to themselves, the other voice is saying, they're right. It's not working. It's not working. I've been doing this 6 months, right? But see, this is where you got to persevere through it. And I love all the tips, Lisa, that you gave everybody. I mean, I took 2 pages of notes, but I'm not going to add anything to it. That was an awesome training, guys. Remember today at 12 and 6. Please remember that. Pack the house. I think Eric Worre, right? Taylor Worre. We have the update call at 10 o'clock today, so make sure you're on that. Get your tickets for LA, guys. Talk about getting around a group of people that are like-minded. You want to be at the event in LA if you could figure it out. But once again, this has been recorded. I'm putting it on right now on our YouTube page. So guys, let me, Lisa, press screen share so everybody could see you. And we could see everybody.
Stop share.
Stop share.
Ah!
Everybody, thank you. Woo, that was awesome, Lisa.
All right, guys. Merry Christmas.
Oh, yeah. Bye. See you guys tomorrow.